Have you ever noticed how often people in your church start leaning into faith only to stall out and then quietly just drift away? Maybe it's a neighbor that you invited, a young family, who came for a few weeks, or maybe like a friend who joined a small group and then suddenly just disappeared. Some of you know this. I was the lead pastor at Woodstock City Church for about 13 years. I saw this all the time. Often I saw it up close and personal. As a pastor, it really feels like pressure, pressure to keep them connected, pressure to figure out what went wrong, pressure to try to get them back. But I mean, here's the reality, right? That most of us, I think, miss. More often than not, pressure actually played a role in their stagnation, in their leaving. Not the pressure you're feeling, but the pressure that they were feeling. Let's kind of dig into this a little bit more. Pressure, it really is one of the greatest kind of unspoken killers of discipleship. No one wants to feel pressured, right? It's why most of us hate car dealerships or door-to-door salesmen. Well, in churches, next steps are really important, but at times they can kind of sound like sales pitches, right? Like sign up now or else, or that kind of thing it really just causes people to retreat because it brings defensiveness into the emotion. Like they don't want to feel pressured into something, which only makes the problem worse, right? Now, we as pastors, we feel the pressure of weak signups or drifting, congregants, and we think that we need to push harder, we need to recruit harder, demand more, right? And then that just adds more pressure. It adds to the cycle. And of course, the results of all of this are pretty predictable. The discipleship pathway that feels more like a treadmill than a journey of transformation. And by the way, nobody's running on it. Jesus obviously models everything in a better way, but he modeled this in such a beautiful way, right? Jesus, he just always offered an invitation. And it was just two words, right? Follow me, follow me. No manipulation, lots of grace, lots of possibility. I mean, think of all the times that Jesus just invited people to follow, right? The discipleships, of course, right? But it didn't stop there. I mean, Jesus was constantly inviting people to just come along for the journey, just follow. So here's what Jesus understood, and he is Jesus, so he understood everything. But Jesus knows, right? He understood that pressure triggers defensiveness, but invitation stirs desire. Let me say that again, right? Pressure always triggers defensiveness, but invitation stirs desire. When people feel like they want to take the next step, then they will take it and they'll take it joyfully. When they feel like they have to, though, they're going to resist. And in a lot of cases, they're going to disappear. So practically, let me just give you 3 steps for you, and just 3 steps for you to consider if you want your discipleship path to maybe work a little better. Let's start with the first thing you really should think about doing, and it's just simply this: inspire people first. Just lean into inspiration first, right? You can't equip people who aren't inspired. You can't give them a plan if they don't feel like they want to be on the plan. You can't force them onto a discipleship journey, but you can create conditions that are conducive to get on the journey. And inspiration is where it really begins. Like when you think about it, paint a picture of what's possible for people, what life could look like if they just trusted God a little more, if they leaned into community, if they served in ministry. Paint a picture. That's what inspiration does, right? I mean, inspiration really stirs a person's heart, and it makes people, this is so big, want what you're talking about, want to take the step because of what's on the other side. Inspiration is actually focused on the experience and the result of the step, not the practicality of what it looks like to take the step. We'll get to that next, but we want to begin with inspiration. Now, from there, we want to do, number 2, equip people with clarity, though. So inspiration without clarity is kind of useless, right? I mean, If you say get involved, that's honestly, it's just kind of vague and it's overwhelming. But if you say, here's a new group starting next month, I'll save you a seat, that's a lot more clear. And by the way, it feels invitational. So clarity is going to lower the barrier and it's going to make the next step easy. So we're going to what? We're going to begin with inspiration. We're going to paint a picture of what could be and what should be. It's like vision, right? We're going to paint a picture of what on the other side of the step, what life might feel like, what life could be like. And maybe we share stories of other people who have gone first. Maybe we share our own personal journey, but we want to paint a picture to help people feel inspired, to generate some desire for what happens because of the step. The next thing we do is we create some clarity. We equip them with clarity. We don't just say random, large, get involved, vague statements. We become very specific and we make the path to involvement or to the step seamless. Think Amazon, right? How easy it is to buy on Amazon. We want to make it easy for people to take this step. And here's the last thing we do. We want to train every leader in our church to be inviters, not pushers, right? Leaders across your church, they're really your secret weapon. Your elders, your other staff members, your core volunteer teams. I mean, they really are the secret weapon if we can spread the burden of leadership the right way to them. So what do we want to do with these other leaders? Well, we want to really equip them to extend personal and relational and very specific invitations, right? I mean, kind of compare maybe these two things. Like an ultimatum, would sound like, if you're serious, you should be serving by now, right? But an invitation sounds more like this. I'd love for you to join me at the front door greeting team this Sunday. You would be great at it. Like, that is such a better way to engage people in a step. So if I could just for a minute, introspectively, personally, I feel like a lot of times at Woodstock City, I don't know that I always got this right. I mean, we did a really good job of pushing next steps, but, and I think in some ways we focused on it a lot, which we should, because discipleship is about steps. But when I think about, my years leading there, I did a lot of pushing next steps. I mean, every week we offered some kind of step. And for the most part, as I said, I think we did it mostly through inspiration and clarity, but not always. Like I can think of some very specific people who over time left our church. And I think my pressure may have been the reason. The pressure I was putting on them might have been the reason. If you think about someone in your church who has left maybe sooner than you would have ever imagined, what if the difference wasn't their interest? What if it was just our church's approach? Like imagine if instead of an announcement from stage, they got personal invitations from a trusted leader, like, I mean, how different that might feel. So as you think about kind of next steps in your church, and I absolutely believe you should have them. I think you should have next steps every week because application trumps information when it comes to transformation. So you need application, you need next steps, but just think of it this way, right? Invitation is what creates discipleship momentum. Pressure creates discipleship stallouts, stagnation. Invitation is what creates momentum, but putting pressure on people just elevates defensiveness. When you build kind of a culture of inviting people into something bigger, into something greater, people don't just take steps. They actually want to take those steps. They desire more for themselves and for the church and for the mission and for the kingdom. And that's when discipleship really, really gains traction. So kind of wrapping up, here's like my biggest, I guess, challenge for you as you think about this. Just evaluate your discipleship moments. Evaluate your next steps, whether it's an altar call or just a volunteer announcement or a small group invitation, whatever it may be. But ask yourself as you look at the step that you're going to offer this week. Ask yourself: is this pressure or is it invitation? Are my words speaking life or speaking defensiveness? Does it make people feel inspired or does it make them actually just feel bad? If you can flip that script, right, you will see incredible growth. Because when we inspire people, we inspire people with vision, we equip them with clarity. And then if we can train all of our leaders around us to leverage personal invitations, what happens on the other side of that is spectacular. And you'll get to watch what happens when people don't feel pushed. They actually feel pulled in. And that's when discipleship really starts working.